Good morning or good afternoon to all of you. We are here to talk about our 6 years as an enterprise standard using Tableau Server here at Cornell, and we feel we've had a very successful implementation and rollout of Tableau and continue to have adoption, and that's what we want to share with you today. So I'm Cindy Sedlacek. I'm the Director of Data Administration Reporting at the College of Arts and Sciences here at Cornell, and I am the technical lead for the KPI Performance Indicators project.
Hi, I'm Carl Sedlacek, and I'm currently the Senior Analyst down here in Alumni Affairs and Development, and also a member of the KPI project, and have provided server support for the last 7 years.
Together, Carl and I, we have a deployment, just so you know, of Tableau Server we have over 1,400 users now. They're decision support users across campus, and we also run a Brio Hyperion System 11 server where we have over 5,000 users on that server. So here at Cornell University, just to give you some general stats about Cornell, we're an Ivy League university with a main campus in Ithaca, New York. We have 15 colleges. There are 7 undergraduate, 5 graduate and professional. So we have the grad school, vet school, law, business, and then we have our new New York City Tech School, and then we have 3 medical schools, and those are in New York City and Qatar. Our annual enrollment is approximately 21,000. 14,000 of those are undergraduate and 7,000 are graduate and professional students. We confer about 6,000 degrees annually, and then we have about approximately 3,000 academics and 7,000 staff. So Tableau here at Cornell, just to give you an idea, we started back in 2007. We were Tableau's second server customer. We were initially using another set of tools for the KPI project, and we heard about Tableau, and we switched to Tableau in 2007. And what we purchased back then initially were 20 desktops, you can see here, and then we had about 200 server users. And now just a visual to give you an idea of where we have, started and then where we have gone, 2009, 11, and 13. You can see here there was a large increase. We bought a 100-pack of Tableau desktops that are distributed all across campus. And so that we had this large increase here, and then you can see the server users have, continued to increase every year. As far as sites and workbooks and views go, we have really had mainly one site for several years, and it's not until this year where we have started to sort of distribute across sites. So we have what we call sub-administrators, where they can control their own, workbooks. Obviously all the publishing is still controlled, but they control the workbook connections, is what I should have said, and then their users. So they have, full control of that. Our workbooks have grown, you can see, and then the views have also grown. We did have this drop here sort of in 2009 when Workday, when Tableau added functionality, parameter functionality. And so we were actually able to reduce the number of workbooks and views. And so what that means, initially we used to have sort of one view that, sort of the same view, but one that would give sort of, by age, by gender, by ethnicity, all, basically the same reports. But now that you have parameters, or when Tableau added parameters, it's one view, and then the end user changes the parameter. So our initial decisions here at Cornell, our leadership, we had a steering committee of 3 college business officers. Those are the VPs for the colleges. Great decision. We had a combination of, sort of undergraduate college business officers and someone from the graduate and professional schools. So we had a good mix. As far as funding goes, we have distributed funding model that we share across the units, and it's based not just on the number of users, right, but it's also based on the size of the unit. So in my case, the College of Arts and Sciences is one of the largest colleges here on campus. So we obviously, our size factors into, how much, of the funding, that we cover for arts and science, as opposed to some of the smaller schools that we have. Licensing, I will tell you, this was a key initial decision that we did. We bought a CPU server. We did not buy a seat-based server. That's been just pivotal on how we can actually be flexible in our deployment here. And then the 20-pack of Tableau desktops, which is what I mentioned in the graph. Another initial decision, we wanted to keep development and support in-house. We did not want to outsource, any report development or support, even, server support. We're not saying that, all folks have to, take this path, but that's what we did. Our report development, right, we wanted to make sure that was in the hands of the business users, right, and those business experts in their various areas. And then we also, there's sort of a group that works on the support, and one of the ways we supported business users is by developing what we call a black box, and Carl's going to talk about the details of that later. And then we also, provide, obviously, server administration support. We kept our hardware simple, but quality high, initially. Carl's also going to talk about that and how that's changed. We've moved to VMs recently. And as far as any, sort of customizations, we do bolt-ons only, no, customizations, right? You want to balance, right, between your local customizations and product, functionality, right, so that you can, always continue to allow for timely upgrades and ability to, maintain, current release cycles. And then we also, right, an initial decision was to engage the vendor, and for those of you that have worked with this vendor, it's a great company to work with. They've good group of people that, really, they want to, they listen and they want to, work with you. Continuing on the benefits here, easy and accessible developer training. If you haven't seen, Tableau offers free online, right, self-service trainings, and these are both live and web-based trainings, right? So they're not just, sort of CBT web-based trainings. You actually, on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, maybe the dates have changed recently, but you can go to live trainings and you can actually ask questions and get those answered, and those are free. And they have, advanced trainings for, details about, like server support that you can, log into and watch. Another benefit that we had, we are, it's easy to transfer existing knowledge, right, and that work into Tableau. So an example, if you want to, you can actually export out your SQL from another tool, right? In our case, the Brio Hyperion products that we use here, and you can export that out, and you literally just paste it into Tableau's custom SQL. And we have short development cycles, right? So you can quickly get from the exploration stage to production. And you literally, with this tool, there are a couple of us I know, for sure, and I know there are others, but, our alumni folks and also for myself, you literally can sit side by side and develop with the customer, right? So, they have their business users and alumni affairs that they, can sit side by side. I sit side by side with my dean, on occasion, and we are working, out, the views and, what he, finds most useful. Can't say that about a lot of tools, right, that we have out there. As far as server administration goes, this is quick and easy, right? So administration of users is web-based, right? And it can be distributed via, the sub-administrator functionality that, via the sites that Tableau has now. Publishing is, in control, right? That's all done by the business users, right? There's no middleman to do that, right? So your SMEs that are out in your business areas, they're the ones that are publishing their documents, if they have access, obviously. Server management, again, quick and easy, right? This integrates with your local single sign-on or LDAP. It allows for single sign-on based row-level secured documents. That was huge for us, right? We didn't want to be managing passwords to the server. We wanted our deans, they have their Cornell, single sign-on, net ID and password that they enter, and that's it. We, carry that through to, each, the documents like in KPI that they open, and it knows that this is, someone from, the Ag and Life Science College versus this is someone from Arts and Sciences or Engineering. So that it made it seamless for the end users. Carl will talk about details about that later. Architecture, again, is scalable and auditable, and Carl will give you, some nice little details about that. So more benefits here, right? We're able to deploy new releases and set up test and dev environments, again, pretty quick and straightforward. That's a big plus, right? Doesn't happen in a lot of tools. Now, as far as details about sort of support costs, we're going to share them right here with you. We, as far as the server goes, for our 1,400 users that we have on there now, there's less than a half a FTE. It's shared across 3 people now here on campus. That's not a big hit, right? And then as far as report development goes, and you will see that we have many units across campus that are doing Tableau report development. We're going to say about 2 FTE total. Usually that's not all someone does in their job, right? So it's several pieces of various report developers across campus. So the total is about 2.5 FTE. We're not talking lots of bodies to do, and you'll see there's some really nice, views that we have going out here. So bottom line, our net result, right? We have an agile deployment here. We have users empowered at all levels, right? End users to business developers. This is a tool, right? And and this is why it's very successful, right? It works well not just for, one group, right? Not just for the end users and not just, for the business developers. And I think we all know we've had tools like that, right? But this works, it's a very nice tool for end users and it's a nice tool for business developers. It supports directed and self-service analytics for your end users, right? So depending on how much, freedom, right, we'll call it, you want to give your end users. And then it also supports open-ended analytics needed, for your business developers, where they can go in, really dig in and, continue on and, create another view and build, views, as they need. Our environment, right, is efficient and effective. It's not just one. It is both of those, right, and it naturally drives user adoption, right, and this is what we'll talk about next here. So the question we hear often at Cornell, right, is, how can we, get in on this action? So here at Cornell, our initial adopters of Tableau were the KPI project, which I mentioned earlier. Those users were our deans, college business officers, right, and their executive level staff. And mainly, the purpose was to, deliver cross-functional metrics, across the colleges. So this is a quote that I have from the dean here at the College of Arts and Sciences. He, shared with me, KPI was a breakthrough for us. What used to be static data and large binders came to life in KPI because of multi-dimensional filters and the ability to drill down all the way into the underlying data tables. The underlying tool is exceptionally flexible, allowing us to assemble large amounts of cross-functional data into coherent frameworks that reveal stories that need to be heard and understood. Insights drawn from these data have already started driving college policies and initiatives. So let me go here and show you. So here is one example of a dashboard that's showing it's distributing various metrics. And so over here on the left, we have FTEs by job family, right? So you've got sort of professorial, academic, other, and then you've got some of these staff, job families. You've got the number of undergraduate students, graduate and professional students. You've got the course enrollments by undergraduate, graduate, and professional, and then you've got also the sponsored research dollars. So the colors are the different colleges that we have here at Cornell, and this is a filter, right, that gives you, the academic year. this is going across multiple data sources, right? So it's what's called a mashup. So we've got, this is one data source here where you've got the FTEs, the student body numbers is another data source, course enroll is another, and then sponsored research. You can set up filters, right? This academic year filter, I can choose to go to, 2009. And the deans, literally, they can go in here and they can see, all of this data. And we have an open data access policy and KPI, so they can see data for all of the colleges, right? And they can see this over time, how this distribution has changed. So let me go back. All right, expanded college adoption. So these usually are your sort of college deans and associate deans. Could be, some of your sort of planning and policy analysis folks. The adoption mode here, this was to replace existing college systems. We use a college chair's website that contains hyperlinks to tabular and graphical annual salary views. And just because this is being recorded here, I can't get in and show details, but you can get the idea. You go, to this website here, and then there are links, Tableau, tabular, and graphical trend views that a dean clicks on, and then you can, over here on the right, this is an example of a scatter plot. We have a multitude of, scatter plots, box plots, line graphs that, show this data, and we have 27 years now of data. That's great to have that amount of data to be able to track, if you've had salary compression or, how the salaries have changed. So a quote we have here, instead of 4 inches of printed data representing 1 year, the deans now can interactively access 27 years of in-year and year-over-year analyses in a limitless exploratory fashion. We've not had that, in the past. So here's another group, facilities and risk management adoption. These, were our, central facilities and risk management folks, not the college folks, which are the groups that I was talking about in those 2 earlier slides. Their adoption mode it was replacing Excel-based reporting. And so their quote here is, Tableau has helped us to get all of our metrics together in one place to create a dashboard for our leadership. Because Tableau is linked to our databases, we no longer have to update disparate Excel spreadsheets every month. We've also used the mapping features of Tableau to get visual representations of programs and results across the campus. Tableau has really enabled us to make a leap forward in our metrics. And so I'm going to show you an example here. So here, this is part of the Cornell map here. This is mainly the arts quad that we're looking at, and we're plotted injury data on this, so you can see the colors showing the injury data. And so I just want to show you how sort of easy this is, really. You can go in here, and this, right, so you literally, sorry, I'll back up here. From map, background images, right, you can import. So I'll go in here and edit and show you this. You create, PNG or JPEG of your map of, your university or whatever you're mapping here. And then you have, you have to set your longitude and latitude values. It's really, goes pretty quickly, once you get your map set, and that's outside of Tableau. And then here, you drag up your longitude and latitude values on your columns and rows, and then, you can add it to the color, and then you can see right here that, this is how, the different buildings and what the injuries were. So I'll just give you an example here. Another thing that, we added to this is where you can actually hyperlink and get information about the actual building that they're looking at. So this is what's called an edit action, and I'll talk about that a little later here. But I'll click on this, and literally this, links you out, to a web page that gives you, information about, this is a Johnson Art Museum, and you can, see square footage, etc. So here, let's go back. Okay. Next group, human resource adoption. These are our central HR folks, college HR directors, president, and the board of trustees have access to these views. Their adoption mode is where they actually leverage certified Brio query SQL. So let me, I'll just go out here quickly. I just want to show you so you can see this here. So edit connection. So there's an option in Tableau here where you can use custom SQL, and literally this is what we're talking about. You just copy in your, SQL from whatever, wherever you have it, and you paste it into Tableau, and you're in business, literally. So that's what these folks did. They had certified Brio queries that, they knew the SQL was what they needed it to be. Previously we've been in PeopleSoft, and now we're in Workday, right? So we've got some complex SQL behind some of these reports, and so that's why they wanted to take that route. Their quote here is, Tableau is a catalyst we've been looking for to help shift our customers from requesting large one-time data dumps across various subject areas to a culture of reusing focused visual displays that answer specific questions. We find that customers actually enjoy working with data now because of the displays and the underlying data that is at their disposal. That's right? Enjoy. If you didn't pick up on that. Right, so when new data needs arise, we are seeing that the functional customers are able to articulate their data requests in a less ambiguous manner because they have predetermined questions already in mind, which saves resources on both ends of the request. That's what our HR folks found. Our alumni folks, these are our giving officers that travel around the world, all over the place. Their adoption mode, they did the similar thing as HR. They leveraged certified Brio SQL, and they integrated with ERPs, right? So they have links from Tableau reports to PeopleSoft, standard person information, and Google Maps. And I will show you here. So what they have here is they can go in and they can choose, and we've dummied this up, but their name comes up, the giving officer, and then there are their prospects that they have, and they have some information about their prospects. And if they want to get more details, this is what we're talking about. This literally links, right? These link into PeopleSoft. I don't have access to their PeopleSoft system, so I can't show you that. But that will take them into the transactional PeopleSoft system, and then they've got this standard person database that they also can link into. So their quote was, right, we're finally rolling out the Tableau homepage and major giving officer portal to the whole giving officer staff, and they've been pretty much blown away by it. Oops. Okay. Graduate school. These are some of our newer folks that have adopted Tableau. This is a graduate school administration, college deans, director of graduate studies, right, and their assistants, right, so their grad field assistants. Their adoption mode has been what we refer to as supplementing data warehouse data models through extreme SQL. So they're definitely using Tableau's custom SQL, in the connection. So they're writing some pretty, fancy SQL where they're doing with statements, etc. Let me give you an example here so you can see. So this is a portal that they have for the grad school here at Cornell, and this report right here actually takes you to Tableau Public, and they're showing metrics where you can go, right. I can be a grad field assistant, and I can choose my field, and then I can choose the degree type, and literally, right, this data. So this is showing percent of acceptance to be admitted, and then percent of admitted who matricked, right? So the bars are actually showing for the field, and then what's really nice here is this line, the line values are actually showing you, for that discipline, so related fields, right? So if I want to go here and say I can choose another one, choose anthropology, right? So these bars show you the, anthropology values, and then this is showing you for anthropology falls in the social sciences, so it shows you similar values for other social science fields. This is a lot of data in a very compact view here. They did an awesome job on this. So let me close this here and go back. Okay, so some of their quotes, right? The graduate school was in need of a quick and efficient way to harness and present the large amounts of data available through Cornell's Student Data Warehouse. Tableau was the right tool to accomplish the dean's objective in data visualization. And so I also wanted to share with you the dean of the graduate school did an article in the CIO section of the Wall Street Journal, and this is a quote that she made. We are always asking, can we do better at promoting diversity? But we didn't always have the answer because we didn't have the ability to drill into data the way we can now. She hopes the data will help the administration discover how to better recruit and retain minority students. That's one example that she's hoping for this data. Okay, next here. All right, Carl. Carl?
Hi, so we're looking at big data here at Cornell and specifically here in Alumni Affairs. And so big data for us is either big data like Twitter or social media, or alternative sources of data that we've not used before, such as harvesting the web and purchasing data and so forth. And so all of these have a component ultimately in some type of visualization, and we plan on using Tableau to do that. So the first thing that we did was we looked at the new Pope Francis, the voting of the cardinals earlier this year. And the reason we did that was because it was a short-term piece of data. The time frame, the data was very concentrated, and there was a rich diversity of opinions in there and so forth, and we felt that it was coming through Twitter, a very large volume of information there. And so we used that as a way of exploring our ability to handle that information, process it, and then ultimately ask questions of it in terms of doing predictive work or modeling the information and so forth. And it also gave us a chance to do some initial visualizations in Tableau. So you can see at the top we have the visualization of a word cloud of words that were parsed out of a tweet, and so in this case we're talking about Cardinal Francis. Unfortunately, we turned the twittering machine off that morning. Otherwise, we'd have captured a couple of tweets that indicated that Francis might be the Pope if there was no vote of a Pope by 3 p.m. that afternoon. But looking back, we would have been pretty close in terms of predicting him, but we did a good job otherwise. So turning that same machinery against reunion and sort of the graduation period here at Cornell, we found a word cloud based on URLs in the tweets, and we visualized that. And that particular URL is about a famous lacrosse player here. So that was a predominant theme in that period of time, that week's worth of data out of Twitter. And then down below we have a sort of a histogram of some of the words that have to do with a reunion. So we have a lot of information here, and we'll be looking at this type of information in LinkedIn. The main thing is to try to, just like any other data source, understand the data, see what it means for the business, and then determine some type of visualization for it as that's the most meaningful. So our quote is from our group leader here: understanding the capacity and specific interests of each donor is critical in high-stakes philanthropy. We expect to capture more and more wealth indicators, interest, and sentiment data from alumni interactions and behavior in the social media space. Tableau's power and articulate data rendering will be invaluable as we try to interpret this cornucopia of information. So that's going to be our challenge, to process the information, glean meaningful questions out of it and answers, and then present them in a meaningful way using Tableau.
Our next area has to do with SaaS data adoption, right? So software as a service. Our initial consumers of this type of data are Workday users, and those that have access to the Workday data. Our adoption mode, sort of two different tiers here. We have, initially, we are using Cold Fusion for ETL into database tables via web services. And then our long-term plan actually is to work with Data Direct or Tableau and on a Workday or generic XML driver. That's our hope. And so our quote here is: more and more of our data is being stored in software as a service systems like Workday. And Cornell's hope is that either Tableau or Data Direct will create a driver that allows us to connect to this data directly without having the middle step of converting the data into a delimited format. And for those of you that do some of the voting on Tableau's website, there is an idea on the Tableau website about this, specific requests. So for those of you who also feel that this would, be useful, please, go and vote on that. Okay, so deployment keys. As far as training goes, both for the desktop and the server, so I'll just step back a second here. In 2008, right, we purchased a 100-pack of Tableau desktop, and we distributed those across the university, which I mentioned before. We created 2 levels of custom hands-on training with Cornell data, right? So we didn't want to use generic data. We wanted Cornell data, so that we sort of take the data out of the equation and out of the training. We had a sort of a level 1 that was basic, training, and you can sort of see what we covered there. And then we had a second level where we went over, more, intermediate types of functionality, dashboards, connecting to an Oracle database, etc. We do rely primarily on Tableau's free, online trainings. We send people there. Those are excellent. And then we do hold semi-annual, maybe 3 times a year, user group meetings where we're going over, new functionality in a new version. We have folks that give demos so they can, show some of their new dashboards or new functionality that they've implemented, et cetera, those types of things. And those are for our, developers, report developers. Training for the server users, we find is minimal, really, and it's not about Tableau, the tool, which for those of you that have seen the web-based tool, it really mainly focuses, on the data, and understanding the data. So another deployment key we've had, we created usually, many of our different groups that are using Tableau, we have existing portals, right? This isn't a requirement. You don't have to do it, but because we have, various existing portals out there, we, leverage those. So we've, created, sort of front ends. This one on the left here is from KPI. This one is from Alumni, and then here's from the graduate school. And I'll go back out here again, but right, I showed you, this is, the graduate school portal, right, and then we went into, a Tableau report. So that's what we're talking about. Metadata, right? Another key. So how did we, deal with, making metadata available to our end users? There are 2 ways that we do this. One is through, edit actions, and they're sort of parameterized URL links. And then another is the tool tip where you can actually put it. So I'll come out here and let's see if I get the right one. Okay. So here you can see when I mouse over, actually, let's go here and I'll show you from this. So this is on the web. Just a second. I'm just going to refresh here on us. Slide this over. Oh. Okay. So this, we're on the web now. I'm a dean or a business officer going in, and this is giving data. And we've got various things, ranges, right, fiscal year to date types of, graphs, use and source. Okay, so for those that don't know what, use and source means exactly, right, you can see here are the two options. These are the links that we were talking about. That's done under Tableau's Edit Actions, right? And then over here on the left where we've got, college, use, source, right, the fundraising view of, right, you've got these descriptions, et cetera. That's where you use Tableau's tooltip. So now let me go. Oh. Okay, so over here, I just want to show you quickly so you can see this. Under worksheet, I'm on a worksheet here. This was the use one. Actions, this is really sort of how simple this is. You can choose a data source, right, or you can actually choose, various sheets in the workbook that you want to use. I want it to apply to the entire data source. And this is, what the URL link looks like, right? And you have your, sort of data domain, and then you have a dimension name. That's what that DN1 stands for, and then a dimension value, and then you put in these parameters. And then you have an ampersand that concatenates this, and that's how, really straightforward it is to create these. Here's one. These are now in Tableau. You can parameterize these, right? So you can be a little bit more efficient about how these work. And let me show you under here, worksheet tooltip, right? So this is, how it looks if you want to use the tooltip. So if you have your metadata, in a database table, and you have that, those descriptions, you literally can just reference a field, a column in the database, and that's all you have to do. And that's how, right, those descriptions appear when you mouse over. All right, so let's hop back here. Okay, Carl.
Okay, and so on that previous slide, Cindy, can you go back for just a second to the previous slide? So notice that URL, though, that Cindy was referring to with the DB1 and DN1, that's basically a cold fusion page. That's another piece of bolt-on that we created here that talks to a database with the metadata in there, and then takes those arguments there that are dynamically filled in by Tableau, but they filled in that sort of template aspect of the URL. So Tableau does the filling in of the data, and we process it through a cold fusion page and talk to a database and then return the metadata in the one example. Okay, so user access, managing access and publishing. The access, the management of users, for individual requests, we typically go ahead and use the Tableau Server interface to handle one-off types of requests. On the other hand, we have built-in facilities through Cold Fusion that we go ahead and use the tab command functionality for in order to manage batch requests of group creation or population of groups and so forth. So Cindy's going to show you, for example, the Cold Fusion page on the KPI front end where we do this.
Right, so a college business officer goes in and they click on Manage Access, and there are, some options, add, edit, delete, right? And this, literally, they can go and add this in to this Cold Fusion page, and then the tab command is launched behind the scenes and actually adds it to the Tableau server, right? So we don't have to set up our college business officers as sub-administrators, or site administrators on the Tableau server. We can leverage, in this existing portal here.
Right. So as far as publishing goes, typically we use this as a utility, and we use Tableau as sort of in a distributed way, so that we rely on subject matter experts. The people out in the business units and the colleges, they know their data. They have their reporting cycle and their business cycles that they need to align with. And so typically we have multiple report developers in each area, and probably on average between 1 and 3 developers at any given time who have access to publish for their particular groups. We have new people coming on all the time, and they're learning how to develop reports. They're learning the business data, the processes, and so forth. And ultimately, they'll likely have an area of specialization, and they'll be publishing their own reports as well. So central IT is not really involved in this process. Cindy alluded to the black box and the single sign-on. So the mechanism that we use the Cornell CU WebAuth system, which is Kerberos-based, and we use the trusted ticket mechanism that Tableau provides us in order to pass credentials into Tableau Server and authenticate a user not only to a web page, but also pass those credentials so that Tableau can authenticate them into its own system and present content back. So the extension that we primarily have in that regard is what we refer to as the black box. It's a cold fusion implementation. And it provides, again, just like the metadata provides, we have a URL that we can leverage. The black box provides a URL that people can use. And so this way we have, we limit our, the need to set up different trusted, we don't have to have every unit or college have a trusted application server that's registered with Tableau. We create one central trusted application server that's, that Tableau knows about, and the syntax then is leveraged by all the groups. And so that way they can have links on their pages or embed live visualizations if they wanted to do that, but they use this black box URL syntax. So, and it, like I said, it carries along our network identifier. Ultimately, that becomes the database login if people choose to do that. So the extension number 2 is 2 ways that we currently know about and use or potentially could use to eliminate a database login. So the current user function or the username function in Tableau basically is a way of Tableau Server saying if you call this function within a calculation within your workbook, I will return to you the username that is logged in. And so for us, the username is our net ID. And so we go ahead and use this functionality to pass through the login down to the database level. Another way of doing this, in certain database connections like SQL Server and I believe Teradata, Tableau provides what's called pre-SQL functionality, where you can go ahead and do impersonation. A piece of SQL or some code is executed prior to the business logic or the business query being executed, and it goes ahead and does a user swap at the database level, so that you could have a super user log into the database, but it go ahead and impersonates the actual business user who's logged into the Tableau server. So on the next slide, we show a little bit of how we do the black box, kind of the flow of the information. So that URL up there is basically a CoFusion web page, and it takes a WB argument, which is a workbook, and it can take an RPT argument, which is a view, and or it could just do the workbook in some cases. And basically, when you hit that URL through your portal page or whatever, if you haven't authenticated to Cornell Single Sign-On, you will be authenticated there with your NetID and password. So this is where we avoid having to manage passwords on the Tableau server. Obviously, you have to set up the user with a password, but the user doesn't really know their Tableau server password. They just know their CU Web login password. So anyway, the NetID, which is our token, SSO token, is passed through the remote user header, and it goes to our black box, which implements our trusted connection. So that black box negotiates with the Tableau server, creates a trusted connection, a ticket, and then the NetID is used as the login token to Tableau server, and Tableau says, yes, this person is a user, yes, they have authorization for the view that you want, here's a ticket, and I'm going to go ahead and do a redirect to your browser. It also hangs on to that user token and makes it available by the username function. So when you're defining your workbook, you're going to go ahead and create a calculation, in which case we call it current user, and it's a Boolean function, and it uses the username function, and it ties it to a NetID field, which we expose in our security views, or our business data has a NetID on it. So when you tie those two things together, and you put that current user dimension onto a filter shelf and set it to true, you basically now have got a filter in the workbook that knows both about who's logged in to the server and how it ties to the business data. So if at that point the data matches up and that person gets the data that they're entitled to. Okay, so onward. Next slide. Usage tracking. So one of the things that people want to know is there is some reporting of whose utilization of views and so forth, but it's really on the administrative page in Tableau Server, and so not everybody obviously has access to that. So as an administrator, I like to know what's going on, and I use those pages a lot to see server activity and user activity, and how long queries are running and all that. But from a sort of auditing or profiling or user document management, we go ahead and we use there's a delivered user named Tableau, which allows you to connect to a set of views that Tableau software has provided within their repository. And so you can attach to Tableau Server using the Postgres connectivity, and you can create some custom tables and views. We go ahead and we do that. We also pull metadata out of the repository into our SQL Server database, and we store it historically there, and we do that on an hourly basis, and we use it to see who's using the workbooks by user project date and IP, and we also look at what access people have in terms of their assignments to workbooks and groups and so forth.
Would you like me to show that quickly?
Sure. Yep.
Okay, so here are some of the different views, and we won't open these, but, usage by user, the date, right, totals, summer usage by detail, et cetera, and like Carl said, IPs, all these details over time, we have here, and, we even give the, extract statistics, right, so did they complete, did they fail, how many, et cetera.
Right, and we have a similar set of reports for the actual report access that somebody has,
yep.
Not just their usage.
Yep, so we could show, oops, sorry. Here are the report access ones, so access by groups, et cetera, and project.
Yep. Thank you. So deployment scalability, we started off with one server. Cindy mentioned that we had a high-quality server, single rack, and that has served us well since 2007, and those are some of the statistics on there. So that server had everything on it. It had Tableau Server. It also had the Cold Fusion IIS on there, so it was a complete package. We are, the lifetime of that hardware is moving on, and we're also moving into, as a university, we've moved into more of a VM environment, shared hosting kind of scenario. And so this is what we are implementing now in version 8. We have a separate little baby VM there for the black box, and there's some stats on there. It'll do the SSO integration on it. It'll talk to a primary Tableau server. We're starting out simple with 2 core, 12 gig on each machine, the primary and the worker. And down below you can see how we've deployed it. We have a couple of SQL on each one. Background on the primary, a repository and data engine on the primary, and we have data server on both of the machines. So we have the gateway, on one machine, and so this kind of is I think a good starting point for balancing between visualization and extract usage. So we've currently in our testing, concurrency testing, it is outperforming our current hardware nicely. And so what's nice about it is that we should be able to scale as we need to scale horizontally and do some vertical scaling on these machines too, and still keep the price down. So vendor deployment keys, vendor relationships. Right, so getting back to that, it's really important to maintain, right from the get-go, a good relationship with your account manager and Tableau support, but primarily with your account manager, because you need to indicate to them, what your goals are and what is critical for your business and your organization. And the same thing with Tableau support. It's really important to let them know the impact of what it is that's happening in your environment, so that they are aware of it and really give it the top priority that it deserves. We have been, participating in feature enhancements. We're pretty forward about what we think is valuable in a product, especially in this new space as it develops. And so we've created a lot of feature enhancements lists over the years, and had the opportunity actually to talk to Tableau developers directly in person in Seattle and so forth. We're invited to come out and talk with them. So basically, you want to strive to balance between tool functionality and any customizations, in our case, just bolt-ons that we would do. But basically, share your vision of where you want the product to go. And you can help with that also by turning around and, feature enhancement list creation takes time, obviously, and thought, and also participating in alpha and beta programs. It's a great way to understand, what is happening from a planning point of view. You can help to refine and test new features and help to ensure the quality of the product before rollout. And this is, now an increasingly longer process. It can take, a couple months or more to go through this process. But it can be really useful to sort of set your sights on what's happening and be a real participant. The other thing is that you may have the opportunity to participate in the customer advisory board. And Cindy, can you talk about that? Because you started off with that a while ago.
So, Tableau has a customer advisory board that you get invited to participate in, and what we've felt, it gives us, you can see sort of the roadmap, an early view of, where they think the product is going. It gives you, right, an idea on scheduling, so where, you might be able to fit things in. And then it also, right, you can provide, sort of pre-alpha and, and alpha and beta feedback on major features on the roadmap. So that's what you're looking for, right?
Yeah, and it also has provided an opportunity for some people to share stuff. They always have a period of time where they have a guest speaker also. Yep. And that can be interesting, too, to see what's happening.
Yep. So our next steps within Cornell, we want to, right, like, everybody else out there, we want to improve our knowledge and use of Tableau, continue to, do, even, more, useful things, in, very, seamless, useful things for our end users. We want to improve how we manage and deliver data in general, right? And for us, some key areas, right, are the sort of, the software as a service, like with Workday, and big data. Those are two big new areas for us. We, like Carl mentioned, we're going to continue to monitor our feature enhancement request lists and see, how that, if it's we need to add things, remove things as Tableau, keeps, adding things each version. And then we, in particular, we want to expand our implementation of version 8 features, such as, sites and distributed administration. Mobile authoring, that's a new thing for us, right? We've not, mobile authoring, is new in version 8, and we're excited about it, and, we'll see, how we're going to roll that out. I think we're going to take, sort of, a slow step into that area initially. And then we're also going to look at the new APIs for extract creation, content synchronization, and user management. So explore the new API functionality that's in version 8. And then in general, right, we, want to continue, to expand our adoption, right, by assisting other Cornell units in meeting their business needs efficiently and effectively. And what we feel, right, is that really is one of Tableau's, core values. They understand that, right, and that, that's a driver, for them, that they want to maintain that, being efficient and effective. And we think, and we've seen over the last 6 years, right, that we've been, efficient and effective across many units, central and colleges with Tableau, and, we look forward, to continuing to do that. So just in closing here, here are, again, our names and our contacts. So if you have questions, you should feel free to, drop us an email, and we'd be glad to, talk about more details or, answer any questions that you might have. So for now, that concludes our presentation here from Cornell. Thank you.